Hello and welcome back, everybody, to episode number 9 of Know the Game here on Sideline Sports. This is episode number 9. We got Gavin,
Yes.
as always. Okay.
What's up, buddy?
In this episode, last episode, if you watched it or listened to it, you would know that we had a lot of stuff to talk about in baseball and not that much in basketball. Well, I'll tell you that this episode is pretty much flip-flop. There is a lot of stuff that happened in the NBA in the past couple of days, and in MLB it's been pretty silent as far as like news and rumors. Obviously, games are going on, but in that other department it's pretty silent. And then we'll talk about the NFL as always. So we'll just talk about the free agency recap and some trades, possibly, and some re-signings and stuff in the NBA, and then in MLB. There was another signing by the Los Angeles Dodgers for a pitcher. We'll also talk about some debuts for players on their new teams, and then we'll give out, if the season ended today and the playoffs started, who would win each series and who would ultimately win the World Series in our opinion. And then in the NFL, one team is getting hit with the injury bug, specifically in the foot. And then we'll talk about a few quarterbacks and a rookie or a second-year wide receiver displaying. He's really showing out in training camp. So let's just get straight into it with the NBA, Gavin.
So, free agency started a couple days ago. And, a lot of teams, they're getting a lot of players are getting massive contract extensions. Like, they are so huge. But we're going to talk about 3 teams that are making some really big moves. The first team that we have is the Miami Heat. They got Jimmy Butler they re-signed him to a 4-year, $184 million contract. That right there is pretty huge for the Miami Heat. I mean, they re-signed Victor Oladipo to a 1-year deal, and they're out here making a bunch of moves.
Yeah, the Kyle Lowry sign and trade is a really good one. When he became a free agent, a lot of people were wondering where he was going to go. Earlier, it was the Lakers before they got Russ, and then even the Pelicans were talked because they cleared cap space to try and get Lowry. Ultimately, he chose the Heat in a sign and trade, and this is a really good pickup for the Heat. They need a veteran defensive point guard, which is exactly what Kyle Lowry is, and he's a champion, multiple-time All-Star. He's a All-NBA guy, and he's a really, really good player. Shot 39% from 3 last season, and he put up a very solid, 17.2 points per game. So that's going to really help out the Heat. And then they also just made a bunch of other moves, and I think they're one of the best defensive teams in the league next season, bro.
They also signed Markieff Morris. I mean, the Heats are out here making a bunch of moves. Another team is the Chicago Bulls. Chicago Bulls just signed Lonzo Ball. Lonzo Ball was between the Bulls or the Lakers. Ended up going to the Bulls. They also signed DeMar DeRozan and Alex Caruso, which I'm really sad about as a Lakers fan.
It hurts.
Yeah, but DeMar DeRozan and Lonzo Ball and Alex Caruso with Zach LaVine and Nikola Vucevic. I mean, that team is gonna be. I don't even know what the right word is for that team because it's crazy to see all those guys on a team, especially on the Bulls too. Because like the Bulls haven't been good for quite some time,
Yeah.
and they're making that push to like, you know what? We're going to be good this season, so we're going to sign all these people.
Dude, it's crazy. Like, that when they signed Lonzo and they signed Caruso in the same day, those were really big moves. Like, they were big moves, Get Lonzo, really good playmaker, defender, a good 3-point shooter, which you said that the first 2 years he was in the NBA, people would say, you don't watch basketball because Lonzo is not a good shooter. Now he is. And, pair him with Zach LaVine and Vucevic and Patrick Williams and Kobe White and all the guys on the Bulls roster. And then they get DeMar DeRozan yesterday, which was out of nowhere in a sign and trade. So this team, defensively, they got really like 2 guys in Zoe and Patrick Williams, but they're going to be able to score the ball. And, on paper, this team looks really good, but with the recency of the Bulls' success, this team, you can't get your hopes up too much with the Chicago Bulls, but I do believe good things are coming for this team.
Another team is the Los Angeles Lakers. They were set to get Lonzo Ball. Didn't happen. They got Russell Westbrook in a trade that sent Kyle Kuzma, KCP, and Montrezl Harrell, and a few picks. I mean, they also got Dwight Howard for the third time. That's crazy. They got Kent Bazemore. They got freaking other people. So what do you have to say about that?
Dude, when they got Russell Westbrook, then they had 3 players on roster. Well, technically 4 because they had Marc Gasol still on roster. And LeBron, AD, Russ, and Marc Gasol. So it was really, what are you going to fill out the rest of the team with no money to spend except a veteran minimum and $5 million and a mid-level exception? And they went out and got what everybody said they needed, and that is shooting. And, no young guys are going to take small veteran minimums. So that's why they went out and got Ariza, Ellington, and Dwight Howard and Carmelo Anthony. And everybody on that list except Dwight Howard is a good 3-point shooter. Carmelo Anthony last season shot 40% from 3. I know some people, especially some family members of ours, said Carmelo Anthony's not a good shooter. Then we pulled up the stats, and Carmelo Anthony is a good 3-point shooter. Shout out Davin's dad for saying that's wrong. Trevor Ariza is a good 3-point shooter, also a pretty good defender. He's a little bit older, not as good as he used to be, but still a quality player. Ellington back in LA. And they also get 2 young guys in Malik Monk, who shot 40% from 3 last season. And he also shot the year before that. Well, the year before that, we don't need to talk about that. He shot 28% from 3. Anyways, he shot 40% last season. And then they also got Kendrick Nunn from the Heat, and they brought back Talen Horton-Tucker. So the Lakers are making moves, and they're quality moves, which is exactly what the Lakers need, and that's 3-point shooting and defense.
Next, I mean, these contract extensions, man, they are crazy. First of all, Steph Curry. Steph Curry is the first player in NBA history to sign 2 $200 million deals. He signed a 4-year, $215 million contract. 215. He makes like $50 million a year.
Dude, that's
mean,
crazy.
It's well deserved. Yeah, it's Steph Curry. It's amazing to have that much money. I mean, if I'm the Warriors, that's crazy because like you have like no money to spend free agency. Like you're giving Steph Curry all the money, but I mean, I guess that's it, man. But Trae Young is another player that signed a pretty big deal too, 5-year, $207 million contract. Ice Trae is out here getting the bag. I mean, he led the Hawks to the Eastern Conference Finals. Nobody really expected them to do that, and he was like, you know what? I'm gonna lead my team to the Eastern Conference Finals. Ice Trae was everybody's saying that he can't shoot in the NBA, or he can't do what he was doing in college, and then do that in the NBA. But he's proved that wrong. He's proved it all wrong.
Well, starting off with Steph Curry, his contract extension adds on to this season's. So in the next 5 years, he's guaranteed $261 billion, which is next level money for a player. And Steph Curry, he's like 32 or 33. And, this contract, I mean, it's pretty much evident. Obviously, he's the greatest shooter of all time and probably going to go down as the greatest point guard of all time, in my opinion. But, this deal is showing that the Warriors respect Steph Curry, and they don't want to lose him. They want him to be a Warrior for life. And, he probably won't be worth $50 million in 5 seasons per year, but it's just doing respect to Steph Curry. And then for Trae Young, a lot of people were calling him Steph Curry 2.0 or the next Steph Curry coming out of college. And I wouldn't say he's the next Steph Curry, but he's a really good point guard, been an all-star, led the Hawks to the Eastern Conference Finals. And, sometimes he plays the game of basketball in a not good way, drawing a lot of fouls and in ways that you shouldn't draw fouls, but he is a really good player, and this is just one of the big extensions the Hawks made. Also, extending John Collins too.
Another extension. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander of the Oklahoma City Thunder signed a max rookie extension for 5 years, $172 million. I mean, that's a lot of money. I mean, $172 million is a lot of money. A well deserved for Shai. But the Thunder are a team that are rebuilding for the future. They have a bunch of picks for the future. They're going to be really good for years to come. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander for the next 5 years is going to help them win some more basketball games. Another thing is Chris Paul. Chris Paul got re-signed by the Phoenix Suns for like a 4-year deal. I'm trying to. Okay, well, he's gone in. He's on the Suns, so like he's 40 years old, and he's getting paid like a bunch of money, man. And it's Chris Paul. The Chris Paul effect is pretty crazy. If you don't know what it is, the team that he goes to the season before is really bad, and then when he goes to the team, they go like really good. He's kind of like a 4-year, $120 million deal with the Suns. He led them to the playoffs into the NBA Finals. So Chris Paul is very well deserved for that money.
Yeah, $30 million a year. It probably won't be worth it, at least in the last 2 years, maybe the last year for sure. But you never know. Chris Paul could be really good for his entire contract. But the Suns realized they can't lose Chris Paul. He brought them to the NBA Finals, where they haven't been in a very, very long time. So he brought them there, and they realized that if they lost him, they would have no one. They'd have Cameron Payne being their starting point guard. And, re-signing Chris Paul, they're guaranteed at least 1 to 2 more really good seasons out of CP3 before he possibly, starts his decline. But he started a decline before back in Houston, got traded to OKC, and then is now one of the best point guards in the league again. So maybe Chris Paul is just invincible, and he'll slow down when he feels like it.
Another some more things, in free agency. Kawhi Leonard declined his player option of $36 million. Maybe it's to be a free agent, go to another team, but I don't think it is. I think it's just to restructure a new contract and to get more money for longer years.
Yeah, if he wanted to go somewhere else, he probably would have had to do that a few days ago because there's like no cap space left for any team. Like there's no money left for Kawhi Leonard unless he wanted to be signed and traded. But I think he's going to be out next season for sure with that ACL injury, which a lot of people are forgetting about. But he's just going to re-sign with the Clippers. He wanted to be in LA in the first place a few years ago, and now he's there, so there's no point in leaving. And the Clippers are a good team. So he's going to re-sign.
The Knicks are a team that are making some big moves. They signed former Celtics guard, forward, whatever, Evan Fournier to a 4-year, $87 million contract. He got traded to the Celtics at the trade deadline from the Orlando Magic. They also re-signed Derrick Rose. A lot of people were saying that Derrick Rose is going to go back to the Bulls. Didn't happen. He signs a 3-year, $43 million contract with the Bulls or with the Knicks. So, I mean, the Knicks are out here making some big moves.
Yeah, and then Kemba Walker got bought out by the OKC Thunder this morning on Wednesday, and then he's gonna head to New York. So the Knicks taking advantage of that salary cap and taking advantage of them being a good basketball team last season, which they had not been for a very long time. And now their team's looking like Kemba Walker, Evan Fournier, RJ Barrett, Julius Randle, and Mitchell Robinson, and I'm forgetting another position. I'm pretty sure. No, that's 5. And their bench is good too. Derrick Rose they brought back, and Nerlens Noel, and all the guys that the Knicks have. They're going to be a good team again next season. There's no doubt about it. And each of those moves is good. And some people were joking and saying, which Evan Fournier are the Knicks getting? Are they getting the Orlando Magic Boston Celtics Evan Fournier, or are they getting Team France Evan Fournier, who is one of the best basketball players on the face of the planet when he's playing in the Olympics for France? You're muted.
The Cavs re-signed Jared Allen to a 5-year, $100 million contract.
Oh,
Got traded to the Cavs from the Nets, and he's been really good. He was good with the Nets, and he got even better with the Cavs. And the Cavs obviously looking to keep him, and they did for 5 more years.
dude, that's a really crazy deal. They just drafted Evan Mobley in the draft, and Evan Mobley is such a good player that he can play the small forward and stretch the floor. He can shoot the three. So Jared Allen, really great defender and great rebounder that they got in part of the James Harden trade. So re-signing him, paying him a bag, is pretty crazy. But I kind of like the move for the Cavs, even though they have one of the highest salaries in the league for being one of the worst teams.
The Jazz re-signed All-Star Mike Conley to a 3-year, $68 million contract. Mike Conley was an All-Star. He's a very, very good three-point shooter, one of the best in the league this last season. Mike Conley was on the Grizzlies. He had a huge contract with them, and then got another big contract with the Utah Jazz for 3 years and $68 million.
The Jazz needed to re-sign Mike Conley because it was the same thing with the Suns and Chris Paul. If they don't re-sign him, they have no one. They don't have the cap space to go out and get another guy to fill the void of a Mike Conley. And Mike, I just got hair from my mic in my mouth. Oh, Mike Conley his first season with the Jazz was rough. He was injured and just not overall a good player. But last season, dealt with some injuries, but when he did play, a lot better, really good player. And the Utah Jazz, #1 seed in the Western Conference last season. So it's only right. It's only right that they re-sign him, and it's a great move.
I'm pretty sure it was like the last one. I could, if you want to add any more, Tim Hardaway Jr. Stays in Dallas for a 4-year, $74 million contract. Tim Hardaway Jr. He's a good shooter and all. A lot of money, man. A lot of these role players are getting lots and lots of money.
Dude, I mean, every role player is getting a lot of money. Tim Hardaway Jr., like you just mentioned, really good player. He puts up buckets, and that's exactly what a team needs. You need buckets. And he's a bucket getter. And then, another guy that got a big time bag that a lot of people are surprised by is Duncan Robinson, $90 million for 5 seasons, I believe it is. But that's just the contracts. These guys are getting a lot of money for being role players, but that's just what you get. If you're good at shooting, if you're good at scoring, you're going to get a bag. If you're good at defense, you'll get a bag in the defensive market. It won't be $90 million over 5 seasons. But these role players are getting properly paid. And, that's just what happens as the salary cap gets bigger and teams get richer.
So before we move on to the MLB, do you have any more that you want to add on to these free agencies?
No.
Well, so now we're going to move on to the MLB.
Oh, wait. Actually, pause. Not free agency, but in honor of the NBA's 75th anniversary, there was at least 3 jersey leaks last season. They're called, or yesterday, they're called I don't know. They're the 3 teams that get them are the teams that were around in 1946, which was the Knicks, the Celtics, and the Warriors. So the Celtics one, we'll put a picture of all 3 up on the screen if you're watching on YouTube. Celtics one, as you can see, it looks very plain. It looks like every other Celtics jersey, white and green. So Celtics, boring. The Knicks one, actually pretty clean. White, blue, orange. It's a Knicks jersey. Looks clean as well. This Warriors one, bro. This is the Wilt Chamberlain Warriors uniform that Wilt Chamberlain wore when he was part of the Philadelphia Warriors. It's a really clean jersey, and I think Andrew Wiggins is gonna look fire in this jersey.
So
wait, what happened to Kelly Oubre. Sorry, this is random. Is Kelly Oubre a free agent or is he still on the Warriors?
I don't know. Next up is MLB, and the Dodgers just signed Cole Hamlin's left-handed pitcher. The Dodgers are making some moves this trade deadline, and even after they acquired Max Scherzer and Trey Turner and Danny Duffy, and now they're getting Cole Hamlin's. I mean, that is crazy right there.
Yeah, Cole Hamels, back when he was a Philadelphia Philly and in part a Texas Ranger, he was really good. He has been an All-Star and a World Series MVP and a champion. So the Dodgers just added another guy who has so much hardware in his on his shelf in his house. This is like the 20th pitcher and 20th player they have that has a World Series ring and all this stuff. But with guys, they just acquired Danny Duffy, but he's not supposed to pitch till September. So, and then Kershaw, he's still out for who knows how long. But adding a guy like Cole Hamels to the major league roster, another innings eater who can be a solid pitcher, and the rich get richer. That's really all you can say about the Los Angeles Dodgers and what they've been doing.
So I just want to say this little thing right here, that Fernando Tatis Jr. May get season-ending surgery. He's had
Uh,
some problems with his shoulder this year, and he's on the 10-day IL, and now they're deciding if it's gonna heal or if he has to get season-ending surgery.
Dude, it's a big blow to the Padres, and especially if you have to get season-ending surgery. The Padres are going to be in the playoffs, and probably as a wild card team, but you never know. There's still so much baseball left to be played, and Tatis probably the NL MVP favorite at least this point in the season, and or at least one of the top 5 candidates. So, and one of the most exciting players in baseball too, best shortstop in the game. There's so much you could say about Tatis in a positive way. The errors maybe not so much, but a shoulder injury is big, and you use your shoulders a lot in baseball. When you swing, you throw, your shoulders are used a lot, and maybe shoulder surgery is the right thing to do to prevent future injuries. But it's a big blow, man. It's gonna be a big blow to the Padres.
So the Cubs traded away their big three in Anthony Rizzo, Javier Baez, and Chris Bryant. Anthony Rizzo went to the Yankees, Javier Baez went to the Mets, and Chris Bryant went to the Giants. And they all hit home runs in their debut with the teams. So, I mean, if you're a Cubs fan, how are you feeling about that?
I'm a Cubs fan. I don't even think I'm a Cubs fan anymore. I mean, I would be so sad, dude. Like, there's a few players on the team left that you can like root for and that their name, like Contreras and Hayward and Happ and all that. But like knowing that your best 3 players from the World Series team, the guys that you traded away, just went out and on their first game with their new team went absolute yard is crazy. Rizzo has been popping off since being on the Yankees. Baez has been actually like pretty solid. He had to be restrained yesterday after a pop out, so he's still Javi Baez. And then Chris Bryant, bro, Chris Bryant looks drippy as heck in a Giants uniform, especially that home one. Then he hits a dinger to left field, his first at bat, or not his first at bat, his first game as a member of the Giants. So really just showing that the Cubs have a lot of good players, and it doesn't matter where they are, they're good.
So Connor wants to do this MLB playoff predictions if the season ended right now. So I'll let you do that.
Yeah, there's nothing really to talk about in baseball. So what I'll do is I'll read off the wild card teams in each postseason matchup, and I'll give who I think would win that game, and Gavin will give who he think would win that game, and then we'll come down to it with a World Series matchup that we each predict if the season ended right now. So starting the American League card game, Red Sox and A's is a 1-game wild card. Who do you think would win a 1-game wild card between these two teams?
I mean, that's a tough one. I mean, the Red Sox have been the most surprising team in the league this year, as
Oh yeah,
long with the Giants too. But I mean, the A's also have been really good. But I mean, I had to go with the Red Sox on this one, man. They've been showing off this year, and Yeah, hopefully they do win this wild card game.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Red Sox too. You know, the A's have been a really good team for a long time, but the Red Sox just have, I guess you'd say, more star power, and their pitching, is, in my opinion, it's a little bit better. So now we have in the ALDS, we have the White Sox versus the Rays in a best of five. So first one to win 3 games between the White Sox and Rays.
I'm obviously going to take the White Sox on this one, man. They just acquired Craig Kimbrel. I mean, so that's going to be good. The White Sox are, they're just good. They're just good this season, man. They have so many players, and like the infield is crazy. The outfield, I mean, yeah, it's crazy too. But like the White Sox, man, they're gonna be there's something special this season. So I'm gonna take them over the Rays.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna do the same thing. The Rays are a good team for some reason, as always. Like they have a lot of players that aren't stars but are good, and the problem is their pitching staff. Glasnow's out for the season, and I mean, it's kind of just whoever the heck is on the Rays pitching staff to start. So I'm gonna take the White Sox for reasons you listed, and Tony La Russa. So now the other ALDS game, we have the Houston Astros versus who we both picked in the Boston Red Sox. Who do you think wins this matchup?
The Astros they've been really good this season, and I'm a Dodger fan. Hard to say that, but like they've been super good. So are the Red Sox. But I'm gonna take the Astros on this one, man. I mean, Michael Brantley hitting like 330 right now. That's crazy. Um, Jose Altuve just like broke a camera yesterday from hitting the baseball and like it hit a camera. Um, I mean, yeah, I mean, they've been really good this season. So, yeah, I'm taking them over the White Sox.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much our
The Red.
predictions are being the exact same. I'm gonna take the Astros too. I mean, they have been one of the best teams in baseball this season, probably the best team in the American League, and there's just they may have cheated a few years ago, but they still have so many good quality players. So now in the ALCS for the both of us, we have the Houston Astros versus Chicago White Sox. Winner goes to the World Series. Who are you taking here?
I'm gonna do this one for one reason. I'm gonna say the Astros because I want to see the Dodgers and Astros play against each other in the World Series again. So I'm taking the Astros here.
This is a tough one. I think these are the two best teams in the American League. Astros really good all around, and the White Sox. The more I just keep looking at that team, two best closers in the game are on the same team, and probably the best starting rotation in the American League this season. And I'm gonna go with the White Sox. The Astros may be the best team probably in baseball, um, but the White Sox, the new young and up and coming team with veteran manager and leadership all around. Last season's MVP, probably a Cy Young this season. So I'm gonna take the White Sox to go to the World Series. And now we head over to the National League side of the bracket, where in the wild card game, this is a whoever's playing this wild card game, it's gonna be two NL West, and it's gonna be a great game. It just sucks. It has to be one. Dodgers Padres is who it would be right now. Gavin, I know you're a Dodger fan. Are you taking them in this wild card game?
I mean, they just got Max Scherzer, Trey Turner, and Danny Duffy, and Cole Hamels. I mean, that team is pretty scary. You know, if Tatis ends up going season-ending surgery, that's gonna be super hard for the Padres to rebound from that. I mean, that's their best player, and their best player is gonna be out. I mean, but all in all, I'm not just saying this because I'm a Dodger fan. I'm gonna take the Dodgers. I mean, I think the Padres have been a better team overall during the Dodgers, or I guess the Dodgers here, but the Dodgers have been very injured this year. I mean, guys like Cody Bellinger have been really bad coming out of injury. If I were like the Dodgers, I would send him down to AAA for a couple weeks or a month just to work on his swing to get him, back in it. But I'm gonna take the Dodgers over here.
Yeah, I think you kind of have to take the Dodgers here with all the stuff they acquired. Like in this wild card game, they could start Scherzer, Bueller, or Kershaw. Really, any of the three guys they can start in this wild card game, and they have a really good shot. The Padres pitching staff has been pretty disappointing this season, except for Musgrove and Darvish, and the Tatis injury as well. So I'm gonna take the Dodgers. So now that leads Well, we'll start with the other NLDS matchup first. Milwaukee Brewers versus New York Mets.
The New York Mets have been. I mean, it seems like every single time I look at the postseason bracket, they're always like number 3 or number 4. Or no, it's always like number 3. It's pretty crazy, but they just acquired Javier Baez. And, I mean, if the Milwaukee Brewers, I mean, they've been a pretty good team this year. I mean, Christian Yelich have been really disappointing. So it's kind of like Willie Adames and Omar Narvaez have been carrying the team. I mean, they have probably one of the best pitching rotations in all of baseball right now. But I'm gonna have to take shoot, what was the other team? Oh, the Mets. I'm gonna have to take the Mets. I mean, they just acquired Javier Baez. I mean, what do you have to say about that, man? They just acquired Javier Baez.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with the Mets too, nobody knows when Jacob DeGrom will come back, if he'll come back this season. Um, Even if Francisco Lindor should be coming back soon, this can be a really good matchup. I'm going to take the Brewers. I think they have the best pitching staff probably in the National League this season. Woodruff, Burns, Peralta, Hader, Williams in the bullpen, and Eduardo Escobar, Willie Adames, Omar Narvaez. Still got Christian Yelich. I'm going to take the Brewers to head to the NLCS. And the other matchup we have, another NL West matchup. This one, in my opinion, is really, really good because it's a rivalry. It's the San Francisco Giants and the Los Angeles Dodgers. Who are you taking in this amazing?
Well, I'm pretty sure I could be wrong if the series either tied or the Giants are up 8-7. Um, but I mean the Dodgers, I'm pretty sure they swept them the first series, and then injuries got to them, and then they just started losing. They went on that massive losing streak after they went against the Padres, after they lost against the Padres. But I mean, it's kind of hard not to choose the Dodgers when they just acquired the best pitcher, possibly the best pitcher in our generation, most underrated player of the sport right now, and a great left-handed pitcher, that has been, pretty decent this year. So I mean, it's going to be hard. It's a 4-game. No, right?
So
4-game.
best of five.
Oh yeah, so
So
it's a
first
three
one to
game.
win
It's a three
three.
game. It's a 3-game, 3 wins series. I mean, this is really hard, but I'm gonna have to take the Dodgers. Not just because I'm a Dodgers fan, just because they just acquired so many good pieces to fill in the roles that they needed to fill in.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to look at the Dodgers team that they have right now and say this team cannot go to the World Series. It's really hard to do that. But on the other side of the table, the Giants got Chris Bryant, most surprising team, Buster Posey, Brandon Crawford, an all-star this season, and pitching staff. It may not be Scherzer, Buehler, Kershaw, but they have Kevin Gausman, really good pitcher. The past 2 seasons, they got Anthony DeSclafani, who came out of nowhere. They got Johnny Cueto. Their bullpen's pretty good. Um, and they have been competitive against the Dodgers this season. It has been better, in my opinion, than Dodgers Padres, which has been hyped up way more than Dodgers Giants. This is a real rivalry, and in the postseason, it's going to be crazy in October. I hope we get to see this matchup, and but I'm going to take the Dodgers. The star power is too much to just say they're going to lose in the NLDS, even though it could happen, very well could happen. So for the both of us, well, for you, it's Dodgers Mets in the NLCS. For me, it's Dodgers Brewers. So who are you taking between your two teams?
I mean, obviously the Dodgers. It's obviously the Dodgers, man. I mean, the Dodgers. And we've said this once many times right now. They've just acquired the best pitcher in the generation. I mean, the Dodgers just acquired so many guys this trade deadline to not make it and win the World Series. The Mets, like you said, I mean, Jacob DeGrom has had some like forearm, elbow, arm issues. Don't know when he's going to come back. Francisco Lindor has been pretty disappointing at the start of the season. I mean, he's kind of picked up the slack a little bit, but who knows, man? I mean, I'm taking the Dodgers, so that's Dodgers Astros World Series for me.
And for me, Dodgers Brewers, probably the best pitching staff this season. And coming into the season, the best pitching staff on paper, who has been really good this season, of the Dodgers. This is tough, man. I mean, I think the Brewers are going to be that team that nobody picks to go far in the playoffs, but could definitely be a World Series team. Brewers White Sox has been talked about as a World Series matchup. I got the White Sox in the World Series right now, but I just cannot physically say the Dodgers are not making the World Series yet. And they got to prove me wrong. And I have them going to the World Series, beating the Brewers and facing the Chicago White Sox, who, by the way, last season in the shortened season, I picked Dodgers White Sox World Series. Didn't happen, but so yours Dodgers Astros rematch, and I got White Sox Dodgers World Series. Who are you taking to win the World Series right now?
Walker Buehler is probably the best pitcher in the postseason, like, ever. I mean, Clayton Kershaw has been really bad in playoffs, like, his whole career. He's not that good. Max Scherzer won a World Series a couple years ago with the Astros, or the Nationals, not the Astros. He won against the Astros. I mean, guys like Julio Urias he was really good this last postseason run with the Dodgers. Came out of the bullpen a couple times, actually threw the last pitch in last year's World Series. I mean, guys, you're gonna have guys like Danny Duffy back too. I mean, even if Trevor Bauer, I highly doubt is ever gonna happen, which is very sad for me. But Trevor Bauer, if he ever comes back with the Dodgers, I mean, I hope this matchup happens, and I hope we win, just to show the Astros that they shouldn't have cheated on us. So I'm obviously picking the Dodgers in this matchup right now.
Yeah, I mean, if you picked the Astros to beat the Dodgers in the World Series, everybody that knows you personally, that is a Dodger fan, everyone in your family would kick you out of their life and probably kill you, because you cannot say the Astros are beating the Dodgers in the World Series, especially after what happened. So, Dodgers, White Sox for me. I was thinking about it when you're talking, and we've already said it before. Dodgers are so good. They acquired so much talent at the deadline, and they already had so much talent on their team. Every player on their team has like 20 MVPs and 20 World Series rings and like a million accolades to their name. And then the White Sox, they got a Hall of Fame manager, and pretty much besides that, it's not a whole lot. It's a really young team. Anderson, Moncada, they just acquired Cesar Hernandez. Yasmani Grandal, best on base percentage catcher in the league. And then they're getting our outfielder guys back, Robert, Eloy Jimenez, and they have Austin Vaughn. Pitching staff, Rodon, Lynn, Keuchel, Giolito. Best closer duo in Hendricks and Kimbrel in the baseball. So I mean, it is a tough one. If it came down to it, White Sox would have home field advantage. So, but yeah, I'm gonna take the White Sox. I am gonna go with the sneaky pick. I think the White Sox can have what it takes to upset a team like the Dodgers. The Dodgers have been upset before by teams. The Nationals have upset them. I just think the White Sox have probably the best pitching staff up and down in baseball. The Dodgers have had guys injured and been down years, like Cody Bellinger, and a lot of guys missed time. But it's a tough choice. I think the Dodgers can really win the World Series. I'm not saying they can't. I mean, I have them making it, but I'm going to take the White Sox.
You're an idiot. But next, I mean, that's pretty much it in the MLB. I mean, it's a really, really slow day, and there's not really much to talk about. So we're going to move on to NFL. Decent amount to talk about. But first thing up is the Colts. The Colts, Carson Wentz going to be out for a significant time with a foot surgery. They're going to need a quarterback to fill in for him. Maybe they get Nick Foles. That'd be pretty funny if Nick Foles fills in for injured Carson Wentz. Or even to get Gardner Minshew or other guys like that. But another, Quentin Nelson. Quentin Nelson is looking to get foot surgery or whatever. He's having foot problems. He's going to be out for 5 to 12 weeks. Oh, that's just right now, not during the season starts. But that's a big blow. That's probably the best lineman in the league right now in Quentin Nelson. And he's going to be out for quite some time.
Dude, the Colts are getting hit with an injury bug, and it's just specifically in the foot. The head coach, Frank Wright, I heard him say that Wentz's injury came from a high school injury that he the bone was able to do some weird thing and then it came loose recently or whatever. So, that's a big blow. Obviously, that's their quarterback that is traded for. So Jacob Eason right now, unless they go get someone as a starter, he was really good at Washington. We'll see how he does in the NFL. And then Quinn Nelson, probably the best lineman in football, has pretty much the exact same injury as what the head coach said. And he's going to be out the same amount of time, 5 to 12 weeks. 5 weeks is the start of the season. 12 weeks, that's end of the season. We'll see when those guys come back. And, to fill out that quarterback need, Gardner Minshew, the now backup for the Jaguars, he said he hasn't pooped in 2 weeks because he doesn't like the number 2, and he doesn't want to be the second quarterback on any team. Well, if you don't want to be the second quarterback, I think the Colts should go after you. Your price isn't going to be high if you're the Jaguars, and he could, in his first season he was solid. Minshew mania around the NFL. Phillip Rivers, he never ruled out a return. So there's a lot of possibilities.
Yeah, speaking of Phillip Rivers, he said that coming out of retirement is an option. He's not done with football, and he's coaching some high school football right now. He's looking to come out of retirement possibly. He was with the Colts his last year in the NFL, so maybe he goes back to the Colts to be their quarterback after Carson Wentz is going to be injured for a long time. So, Phil Rivers, what do you have to say about him possibly coming out of retirement?
I mean, during his career with the Chargers, he was a really great quarterback, probably one of the top 15, 20 quarterbacks of all time. He's had so many milestones. I believe he had the record for most completed passes or something like that. I remember seeing it on TV. I don't remember exactly what the record is, but he has a lot of records in the NFL, a lot of great moments. And last season with the Colts, he was 39 years old. He didn't play amazing, but he didn't play bad. He was Phillip Rivers, and he may not have been able to sling the ball like he used to, but if you don't think Jacob Eason can be the guy to start the season, and you don't think Carson Wentz going to come back until like 12 weeks, maybe you go out and get a Phillip Rivers. Maybe you go out and get a guy like Colin Kaepernick. His name's been brought around the NFL for a long time. I'm not saying it's going to happen because he's had many opportunities, but nobody signed him. It's going to be interesting to see what the Colts do if Phillip Rivers comes out of retirement.
Next, the Cowboys. Their receiver that I wanted them to draft, actually, CeeDee Lamb. This 2 drafts ago, they drafted CeeDee Lamb, and he was really good his rookie season. He was really good, probably the second best rookie receiver behind Justin Jefferson, of course. But in training camp, because I follow the Cowboys on Instagram because I'm a Cowboys fan, but I've seen so many videos of him just grabbing these unbelievable catches. I mean, he's one-handing them. He's like mossing everybody. It's crazy. CeeDee Lamb is looking like number 1 receiver with Amari Cooper out for a little bit right now. But who knows, man? Who knows about CeeDee Lamb? Possibly being one of the best receivers in the league.
Dude, it's crazy. Like, he has the potential to be a number 1 receiver. And depending on where you want to rank him or where you put him, he's the number 3 receiver. Maybe he might be ahead of Michael Gallup. You could put even at the end of the season, you could put him ahead of Amari Cooper. He had 935 yards last season and 5 TDs. The Cowboys have the potential on their roster for possibly 3 1,000-yard receivers, depending on when Amari Cooper is like fully healthy and stuff. But CeeDee Lamb showing out this season so far in training camp, and this just shows why the Raiders should have taken him instead of Henry Ruggs. CeeDee Lamb's amazing.
I mean, Dak Prescott is out right now for a little injury, and he's having Garrett Gilbert throw him some passes. I mean, Garrett Gilbert, don't get me wrong. When I saw him make his debut or whatever against the 11-0 Steelers, he had them have a run for their money. Man, he was so close to making them lose their first game of the season. But he's throwing some very good passes to CeeDee Lamb, and he's just making great catches. But last thing is the 49ers, man. They drafted Trey Lance with their third pick, I think, or fifth
Yeah,
pick.
number three. Three.
Yeah, three. They drafted Trey Lance, man. So, and they already have Jimmy G. Jimmy Garoppolo is the starting quarterback for right now. Their head coach, Kyle Shanahan, said he's going to be the week one starter. I'm pretty sure he said that. And, Trey Lance, Jimmy G is, nothing but nice as Trey Lance, reportedly. But, who do you have starting?
I think Jimmy G's got to start week one. When they drafted Trey Lance, it was they came out the GM and the coach Kyle Shanahan said yo, Jimmy G is our guy to start the season and probably for the whole season depending on how he plays. And the GM came out and said Garoppolo's playing his best football since he's got in San Francisco. It's just training camp, but if he looks that good, it's promising. He's taken the team to the Super Bowl before a few years ago. So I think you have to start Jimmy G. He has the experience. Let Trey Lance kind of sit like Patrick Mahomes did behind Alex Smith. And then you can move on from Jimmy G either midway through the season if he's not performing well or in the offseason. I don't think Trey Lance is ready to start yet because also in college he didn't get enough playing time. Last season he played one game.
Trey Lance was a, very, very high prospect, coming out of college. It was either between him or Mac Jones at 3. Nobody wanted. I mean, a lot of guys were predicting Mac Jones to go 3, but nobody really wanted Mac Jones to go 3. That was way too high for Mac Jones. He ended up falling 15 to the Patriots. But Trey Lance, he's the 49ers QB for the future, possibly for the future. Who knows? But right now, I'd say Jimmy G's a starter. Kyle Shanahan has said himself that he's going to be the week one starter. And, Jimmy G learned behind Tom Brady. And then Trey Lance is learning behind a guy who learned behind Tom Brady. That right there, Trey Lance obviously is going to get his moment this year, possibly this year. It's not like he's not going to start a game like Jordan Love, because Jordan Love, he's not. Jimmy Garoppolo isn't like Aaron Rodgers. He's not that good of a quarterback. So, Trey Lance, who knows? Who knows, man? He can do better as of right now. Later in training camp, he can do way better than Jimmy Garoppolo and start week one or weeks into the future.
Yeah, and also with the Jordan Love thing, people were saying from the Packers camp last season that Jordan Love is not ready at all for football. Like last season, he didn't even dress for games. He was on the scout team. He probably got reps in practice, obviously, but for the games, did not dress out. In training camp this year, the reason people are talking about could Trey Lance start week one is because of how well he's been showing out in training camp. He's been playing phenomenal in training camp. So, and I think he's already a better quarterback than Jordan Love. Obviously, none of them have had NFL snaps, but just looking at the college film and what they've done in their college careers, Jordan Love has a strong arm. There's no doubt about it, but he threw a lot of picks at Utah State. Trey Lance, he's a kind of a dual threat quarterback. He can get out of the pocket and he can sling the ball, and he's better than Jordan Love right now. So it's a really good debate. Trey Lance will definitely get his own this season, but 49ers, they got a good problem to have.
I was surprised as much as everybody else was when the Packers drafted Jordan Love. They didn't even tell Aaron Rodgers, what, we're going to draft a replacement for when you're gone, when you retire. Jordan Love is kind of getting wasted potential right now with being out his rookie season and then possibly being out this season too, if anything happens to, Aaron Rodgers. But who knows about that Jordan Love situation? Who knows about this Trey Lance situation? So with that being said, that looks about it for today's episode, another game, I hand it over to Connor to the outro.
Yeah, man. This episode, a lot of stuff to talk about in basketball, and I feel like we filled it out with the rest. The baseball predictions, and then obviously this football talk. So also just some quick announcements. A new football podcast or whatever is coming out on this Sideline Sports channel. It's called 17 Weeks. Basically, it's just going to be when the season starts, before each games of the week, I'll give out, and if anyone joins me on the show, but if I'll give out who I think is going to win each game that week, and maybe some other stuff like what player I think is going to perform amazing or who's going to suck or whatever like that. So that'll launch like next week, and perhaps Gavin still does his own football podcast, or I don't know. We still have to talk about that. But check out Broken Batch, check out Know the Game, check out 17 Weeks, check out Sideline Sports Instagram, and that is in the About page of the YouTube. And however you listen to this episode of Know the Game, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time. Yogurt.